There's a fire. You have time to save one. On the left, a stranger's child. On the right, your own pet, the one who knows your voice, your routines, your life. No laws, no judgment, just one choice. Who do you save? Whatever answer popped into your head, don't explain it yet. Don't justify it. Don't soften it with, well, it depends, or that would never happen. Because Carl Jung would say, that answer isn't about morality. It's about who you really are, not who you want to be, not who you think you should be, who you actually are when everything burns down. Jung didn't care about right versus wrong. He cared about symbolic meaning. In his view, the choices we make under pressure don't reveal our character. They reveal our unconscious, the part of us we can't see, the part that decides before we even think. This fire, it's not real, but your reaction to it is. Fire represents crisis, ego pressure, the moment when your protective layers get stripped away. And the choice? That's your unconscious showing you what it values most, what will protect when everything else has to burn. There's no good answer here. There's no bad one either. This isn't a test of kindness or compassion. It's a test of psychological orientation. Where does your sense of self actually live? What does your unconscious consider worth saving? Jung believed that these questions matter more than any moral code we claim to follow, because moral codes are conscious. They're what we build to make sense of the world. But the unconscious? That's older, deeper, more honest. So here are the rules. And they matter because every part of your mind will try to escape this choice. You can only save one. You cannot go back. There's no time to call for help. No firefighters coming. No miracle third option. And your first instinct? That's what counts. If you change your answer while watching this, notice that too. Notice what made you switch. Was it guilt? Was it fear of judgment? Was it the thought of someone watching you decide? Because even that tells you something. The answer that came second, that's your ego trying to protect you from what the unconscious already said. Now let's go into what your choice actually means. And I want to be clear about something before we begin. Whatever you chose, it's not wrong. It's not shameful. It's not something to hide. It's information. Information about how your psyche is structured, about what shaped you, about what you're still protecting. Even now, if you chose a stranger's child, this is what Jung would see in you. You prioritize collective responsibility. Your identity is tied to moral structure, to meaning systems, to something larger than your personal experience. You have a strong superego. That's the part of you that internalizes rules, duties, what society expects. But more than that, it's the part of you that needs to believe your life stands for something, that your choices matter beyond just you. In Jungian symbolism, the child represents the future, potential, humanity itself. It's abstract, yes, but it's powerful. And choosing a stranger's child over your own bond means you're willing to sacrifice the personal for the universal. The fire, in this case, is asking you to prove your values. And you did, without hesitation, without calculation. You chose meaning over comfort. People who make this choice often share certain traits. High empathy, duty-driven. You're the one people call responsible, the one who shows up, the one who doesn't need to be asked twice. You carry a sense of obligation that feels natural to you, maybe even comforting. When chaos happens, you don't freeze. You act, and you act in alignment with what you believe is right, even when it tears you apart inside. You probably grew up being told you were mature for your age, responsible, trustworthy. Maybe you were the oldest child, or maybe you just learned early that love came with conditions, and one of those conditions was being good, being selfless, being the one who chose correctly. So you learned to override your personal needs. You learned that your feelings mattered less than doing the right thing. And now, decades later, that pattern is so deep you don't even see it anymore. It just feels like who you are. But here's the shadow aspect, and this is important. You may save everyone else, but quietly abandon parts of yourself. You may give endlessly, beautifully, meaningfully, and still wake up one day and wonder who's taking care of you. You may look around at all the people you've helped, all the causes you've served, all the right choices you've made, and feel empty, because somewhere along the way, you learned that your own needs don't count. that your own pain isn't as important as someone else's potential. Jung would ask, who took care of you growing up? Not just physically, emotionally. Who saw you? Who let you be selfish, messy, wrong? Because often, this choice comes from a very old wound. The child who learned to earn love by being good, by being useful, by choosing correctly. And that child is still in you, still trying to prove they're worthy, still believing that if they save enough people, someone will finally turn around and save them. If you chose your own pet, this is what Jung would see in you. You prioritize bond over abstraction, loyalty over moral performance. You have a deeply attachment-based psyche. Your sense of safety, your sense of self, is rooted in relationships you've actually lived, not ideas about what should matter. You don't trust concepts. You trust experience. You trust what's been proven to you over time. In Jungian symbolism, the pet represents unconditional connection. It's the familiar, the known, the one who never judged you, never left you, never asked you to be more than you are. That pet has seen you at your worst, your loneliest, your most broken, and it stayed, not because of duty, not because of morality, but because the bond was real. And the fire is a threat to your inner world, to the emotional safety you've built, and you protected it, without apology. People who make this choice often share certain traits too. High emotional intelligence, strong boundaries. You trust lived experience over ideals. You've probably been through something, maybe not trauma in the clinical sense, but something that taught you not everyone deserves your loyalty. Not every cause is worth your sacrifice. You've learned the hard way that people will use your compassion against you, that systems will take everything you give and ask for more, that strangers will applaud your sacrifice and then forget your name. So you stop performing. You stop pretending that abstract principles matter more than actual relationships. You build a small circle, a tight one, and inside that circle, you're fiercely loyal. Outside of it, you're done pretending to care about things that have never cared about you. You probably struggled with this choice. Maybe you still feel guilty about it, because society told you the child is the right answer, the moral answer, the answer a good person would choose. But you couldn't do it. And somewhere deep down, you know why. Because you know what loss feels like. You know what it's like to love something and have it ripped away. You know what it's like to invest in people, in causes, in ideas, and watch them disappear. So when the fire came, you didn't think about humanity. You didn't think about the future. You thought about the one thing that has never abandoned you, the one connection that didn't come with conditions, and you chose it, not because you lack empathy, but because you've learned that loyalty is rare. And when you find it, you protect it. But here's your shadow aspect. You may protect what you love, but disconnect from the wider human story. You may build such strong walls around your inner circle that the rest of the world feels distant, abstract, not your responsibility. You may look at people suffering and feel nothing, not because you're cruel, but because you've spent so much energy protecting yourself from caring too much that you've lost the ability to care at all. Jung would say, you've learned to survive by choosing carefully. But at what cost? At what point does self-protection become isolation? At what point does loyalty become a prison? Now here's the part most videos get wrong. Most people think this test is about compassion, about who's kinder, who's better, who's more evolved. It's not. It's about where your sense of self lives, where your psychological anchor is. What keeps you steady when everything else is falling apart? Child savers. Your identity lives in meaning systems, in the belief that your life has to stand for something. You need to feel that your choices align with your values, even when it costs you, even when it destroys you. Because if your life doesn't mean something, what's the point? You'd rather suffer with purpose than be comfortable without it. You'd rather burn in the fire than live knowing you chose wrong. Pet savers. Your identity lives in emotional bonds, in the belief that your life is measured by the connections you protect. You need to feel that your loyalty is real, even when the world judges you for it. Because if you can't protect what you love, what's left? You'd rather face judgment than betrayal. You'd rather be called selfish than lose the one thing that made life bearable. Neither is superior. They solve different psychological problems. One protects meaning. The other protects attachment. Jung would say both are necessary. Both are human. The question is, which one saved you first? What did you need more when you were young and the world was too big and no one was explaining the rules? Did you need to believe things happened for a reason? Or did you need one person, one creature, who saw you and stayed? Now let's go deeper, into what Jung called the shadow. The part of you that your conscious mind doesn't want to admit exists. The part that operates in the dark. That makes decisions you'd never admit to making. That feels things you'd never say out loud. Your answer also reveals what you fear losing. Not just in this fire. In life, if you chose a child, you fear moral failure. You fear being the person who chose wrong, who was selfish, who couldn't rise to the occasion. Your deepest fear isn't death. It's meaninglessness. It's the idea that your life didn't count for something, that you existed and nothing changed, that when you're gone, no one will remember why you mattered. So you chase purpose. You chase contribution. You chase the feeling that you're part of something bigger than yourself. And when that feeling fades, when the mission ends or the cause collapses or the people you help forget you, you panic. Because without purpose, who are you? You also fear being seen as selfish. You fear the judgment, the accusation that you only care about yourself. So you overcompensate. You prove, again and again, that you're not like that. You're good. You're selfless. You're willing to sacrifice. And the more you prove it, the more trapped you become. Because now your identity depends on it. Now you can't stop. Now choosing yourself feels like betrayal. If you chose a pet, you fear emotional annihilation. You fear losing the one thing that made life feel safe. The one connection that didn't ask you to perform. Your deepest fear isn't judgment. It's abandonment. It's the idea that love is conditional and you'll always be alone. That no matter how good you are, how hard you try, how much you give, people will leave. Systems will fail. Promises will break. So you stop trusting the abstract. You stop believing in ideas. You started trusting only what you could touch, what you could see, what proved itself over time. You also fear being forced to care about things that don't care about you. You've been there before. You've given to people who didn't deserve it. You've invested in causes that collapsed. You believed in systems that betrayed you. And every time a part of you died, a part of you went numb. So now, when the world asks you to care about a stranger, about humanity, about the greater good, you freeze. Not because you're heartless, but because you've learned that caring is dangerous. That empathy is a weapon people use against you. The unconscious always protects what once saved you. Your answer isn't random. It's a survival strategy you learned years ago, maybe decades ago, and it's still running, still making decisions for you, still choosing what to save and what to let burn. Let's make this practical, because this choice doesn't just live in hypothetical fires. It repeats itself in your real life, quietly, constantly. Every single day, you're making versions of this choice. And most of the time, you don't even notice. In relationships, are you the one who stays in situations that hurt you because leaving feels morally wrong? Because you made a commitment? Because they need you? Are you the one who ignores your own pain because someone else's pain seems bigger, more important, more deserving of attention? Or are you the one who cuts people off the moment they violate your trust? The one who ends relationships without explanation because you've learned that explaining just gives people ammunition? The one who protects your peace so fiercely that you'd rather be alone than risk being hurt again? In your career, do you burn out trying to save systems that will never appreciate you? Do you work extra hours for causes you believe in, even when they don't pay you, don't promote you, don't even see you? Do you sacrifice your health, your time, your family because the work matters? Or do you protect your energy so tightly that opportunities pass you by? Do you say no to projects that could change your life because they require you to trust people you don't know? Do you stay small, stay safe, stay in control because collaboration feels like vulnerability? In guilt versus loyalty, do you carry guilt for every boundary you set? Does saying no feel like violence? Does choosing yourself feel like abandonment? Do you apologize for taking up space, for having needs, for asking people to care about you? Or do you carry loneliness for every connection you refuse? Do you watch people build communities and feel nothing? Do you see people in pain and turn away, not because you don't care, but because you can't afford to care? Do you live in a world where you're safe but separate, protected but isolated? Watch how this choice repeats itself in your life, in the small decisions, in the patterns you can't seem to break. Because the fire is always asking, what are you willing to lose? And your unconscious is always answering the same way. But here's Jung's real goal. It's not choosing sides. It's integration. Psychological maturity isn't changing your answer. It's understanding why it felt inevitable. It's being able to hold both truths at once. To see the child savor in you and respect it. To see the pet savor in you and honor it. To know that both are real. Both are you. And both are trying to keep you alive. Can you care for the collective without erasing yourself? Can you prioritize meaning without abandoning your own needs? Can you believe in something larger than yourself and still believe that you matter? Can you give to the world without expecting the world to give back, but also know when to stop giving? Can you bond deeply without isolating from the world? Can you love fiercely, protectively, loyally, and still leave room for strangers? Can you protect what's yours without closing your heart to everything else? Can you build walls that keep you safe but leave a door open? That's individuation. That's the work. Not becoming someone else. Not fixing what's broken. But becoming whole enough to see why you chose what you chose and what it cost you. To see the child you saved and know what you sacrificed to save them. To see the pet you saved and know what you gave up to keep them safe. And to ask yourself, was it worth it? Am I still choosing the same thing? And if so, why? Because here's what Jung understood that most people don't. You can't integrate what you won't acknowledge. You can't heal what you won't see. If you chose a child and you're ashamed of how much you've neglected yourself, you have to say it out loud, in the mirror, to someone who loves you. You have to admit that you're tired, that you're empty, that you don't know who you are when you're not saving someone. If you chose a pet and you're ashamed of how disconnected you feel from the world, you have to say it. You have to admit that you're lonely, that your walls are too high, that you don't know how to trust people anymore. Integration doesn't mean balance. It doesn't mean being perfectly 50-50, caring about strangers and loved ones equally. It means awareness. It means knowing what you're doing and why you're doing it. It means catching yourself in the moment when you're choosing again and asking, is this still what I need, or is this just what I've always done? The fire never asks what's fair. It only reveals what matters. And now you know what your unconscious protects, what it's willing to lose, what it can't let burn. You know the shape of your psyche, the structure of your survival, the pattern you've been living inside of for years, maybe your whole life. So here's what I want you to do. Comment below. Just one word, child or pet. And then if you can, explain why. Not to convince anyone, not to debate, not to prove you're right, just to witness your own truth, to say it out loud, to let it be seen. No judgment, just awareness. Because the moment you speak it, the moment you name it, it loses some of its power over you. And if you can't explain why, that's okay too. Sometimes the unconscious doesn't give reasons. Sometimes it just knows, and that knowing is enough. Your first instinct already told the truth. Now you get to listen to it. Now you get to decide what to do with it. Because the fire is over. The choice is made. And what's left is you, standing in the aftermath, finally seeing what you couldn't see before.